Joining the podcast is a national champion and an SEC champion at the University of Alabama, receiver Slade Bolden. Slade, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. You doing all right?
Scott, thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, I'm doing great. I feel like we could have done this a while ago, and I'm sorry for just now getting on this podcast with you, but I appreciate you having me nonetheless.
Of course, man, of course. So, what are you up to these days? You still trying to play some ball?
Well, I know we spoke briefly before we started this, and I yes, I mean, at the end of the day, is if there was an opportunity that came, I would probably go, and I'm thinking more NFL. Like I've had some CFL opportunities more recently. Now, I actually worked out for the Steelers at the end of July, so that's my most like NFL opportunity that I've had. Now, am I training as hard as I used to? No, but I still wake up 5 a.m. every morning. Go whatever, what if it's a lift or a run or working on my craft still. And I do that not only because, yeah, in the back of my mind, there's always hope. There's a possibility that that might happen, but also like I just it's all I don't know anything different. I've lived my whole life training and practicing and meeting and doing all those sorts of things that athletes do, and especially in the football world and the NFL world, it's a job. So if I go from that to now, what I'm doing is it, and we joked about this because like people comment on my posts like go sell insurance or go be an insurance, whatever it may be, and I think it's hilarious, and I could care less, but it's funny because they're right. Is it because I'm an insurance broker now, and like I told you before this podcast, like, it's a really great opportunity. I didn't even know places like this existed. I work for a company called Higginbotham, and I'm an employee benefits advisor. And obviously, it is a job that you can help people with in healthcare world. So that is a great thing, be able to bring value to people and help companies and employers. And so I do believe that one of the main reasons we're on this earth is to serve people and help people. But being able to do that, and along with that being my job, it's a blessing. And the financial opportunities in this industry is unbelievable, and the people that I work with are great. The culture here is great, and I am very fortunate. Like I said, didn't know place like this existed. I thought to create, excuse me, generational wealth, to make NFL money. I thought either A, you had to be an NFL or being a professional athlete, or B, start your own company and sell it or just have success in that. So being able to work for somebody that's an employee-owned company, so essentially you are your own owner, like you are the owner of your own company, your book. You eat what you kill, and I'm the type of person that's like, okay, like if I can't go catch a ball and make NFL money, and I know like the world doesn't revolve around money to me. I mean, yeah, like that's important, but there's better things and more important things in life than money. But where I'm from, I come from nothing. Grew up with an addictive household. I got a little taste of what it's like to make NFL money. So I'm a hustler. Like I was like, if I can't make NFL money playing in the league, I got to do it doing something else. And this is definitely an opportunity to do that. But I'm also helping people, and I'm in a great culture, and it's a employee-owned company. So the equity is really, really great in this company. So that's another really great benefit. But it's different. It's very different. It's the first, especially the first couple of weeks, I was studying for my insurance exam, and I mean I would sit behind a desk hours at a time during the day, and I'm just like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. Like constantly just, man, like I wish I was just out running on the field or meetings, because like you gotta build your own schedule, because and being an athlete, especially the college NFL level, you have the schedule. It's already written out for you. You got meetings from this time, you got workouts at this time, you got lunch at this time, you got practice from this time. And what you do between 8 a.m., or not between, but before 8 a.m. and after like 6 p.m., that's on you. But during the day, your schedule's laid out. So definitely a different transition. And I'm fortunate, I'm blessed, and I'm a grinder, and whatever I got to do to make something work, I'm going to do it. But it's definitely different. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question with all that kind of spilling out there, I definitely still train, and if this is the Lord's plan for me, then I'm going to attack it wholeheartedly. But if it's something that I just have to be patient with, and maybe I get another opportunity to play in the NFL, then so be it. But whatever I do, I'm going to try to be 100%, 110% every day, and be the best man I can be at the end of the day. So I
That's
know
good,
that's a
man.
lot.
Nah, man, that's good. I'm believing something will work out for you.
Well, thank
But
you.
man, a lot of people when they want to talk about the Saban era at
Mhm.
Alabama, everybody always wants to talk about how intense the practices are. And me and you both know, what makes it intense is the tempo because you've got Kyle with the air
Mhm.
horn and,
Mhm.
start out with turnover and then we go to Indy and all this stuff. And then it kind of chills out once we get to team, period 8, 9, whatever. How do you
Yeah.
think those practices compare to the NFL practices and the UFL practices that you've been a part of?
Well, it's funny because, like you said, the tempo. I mean, I remember being like, the first 7 or 8 periods of practice were always the hardest. Like once you got the team and scout team, like it kind of, like you said, chilled out a little bit. And now the way we went about those periods, how we called plays, how we ran plays, that was intense. That was fast. But like the periods were more longer and, kind of not as, all right, we're moving on to the next. But I'll tell you, doing that, like when I went to Baltimore rookie year, there was guys that came from different teams, different programs, different organizations within the league, and they're all like, "Man, this is the hardest practice I've ever done." Like compared to other NFL teams, I'm like, "This is the hardest." Like, man, this is easy for me. Like, I love this. I'll take this every day because like you said, what we did and how we practiced with coach and when I was at Bama, it was very intense. And that obviously is what prepared us for the game because the games became easy because we practiced like it was a game, actually practiced harder than what it was as a game. So when we, got to the fourth quarter and the game's on the line or it's really hot and we're fatigued, we're tired, like that's when we went above and beyond and kind of reached a different level because we were already prepared for that type of intensity and that type of like movement and just being able to practice fast and think fast because we were going. I mean, I was going against the best defense in college football every day. So you get to Saturday and yeah, you might be playing a good defense, but it's like yeah, I this guy's not a first rounder or this guy's not who I would go against every day. So it definitely helped and it made it easier for me. I mean, even Atlanta was a little easier. It was that I felt like Atlanta was closer to Bama when it came to a tempo standpoint, but like the periods were shorter and the reps were less. Because I remember being at Bama, we go 4 reps in a row, and when I got to Baltimore, it was not as much, but we'd still go like every other probably 4 plays. Or maybe 2 for every 4 plays. When I got to Atlanta, it was like you do 1 rep and then you kind of don't do another one until like 6 plays later. So like that helps because you're locked in, you go hard for 1 rep and then you get a breather. But I'm telling you, like it was times you run a deep route during practice and you had to take your butt back, but because that helped you because during the game you can't just come out after every play. So condition wise, we were in great shape because of how we practice. And to me, the UFL was really easy. I can go into that more because it was I don't know what happened there. I don't know how I got cut. To this day couldn't tell you why. I can give you kind of reasons why Baltimore didn't work out and Atlanta worked out. It didn't work out, but I don't know what happened with UFL. I thought that was one of the easiest training camps or fall camps that I've ever been a part of, physically, mentally, and just competitively. Like I didn't think I've gone against so many dudes that were, really, really good that I felt like I was, having an easy time going against the guys in that UFL team. But it is what it is. You can only control what you can control, and at the end of the day, it's not up to me, and it's really not up to the people making decisions across from me. At the end of the day, to me, it's up to the Lord, and maybe that just wasn't my path. But yeah, I would think, man, the playing for Coach Saban, the way we prepared, not only in the meeting rooms but also on the field, helped me not only on Saturdays but also when I got to the next level for sure.
Well, speaking of Saban, it's kind of funny because looking back on it now, as a manager, anytime Saban would, chew you out, it was
Hmm.
almost like after practice, you're walking out of the facility, you're texting your buddies, guess who called me a dumbass at practice today?
Yeah.
Who, what, what is your best Saban story? Let me hear it.
Well, I got a few, and I've told a few, so I'm gonna see if I can give you something new. I want to say it was my senior year, 2021, playing Mercer, and man, like I'll play with some guys. Like I played with 5 first round picks in my career at Alabama in my receiver room. And I always say six because I include Mechie in that conversation because I felt like if he would have never got hurt in the SEC championship, he probably would have been a first round pick as well. Now he was an early second round pick, which is really good for a receiver. I mean, you look at all the second round pick receivers in the league right now, they're usually some of the best. Um, but man, I remember we're playing Mercer and I think I got like one target that game. So like I had to take advantage of every opportunity I got. And that one target had to be like a little flat route. Caught it, struck up the sideline. It was like 20 yards from the end zone. And I'm coming to the end zone. I'm like right there in the corner where the pylon is. And there's a guy for Mercer, kind of a smaller DB. And like, you know, hindsight, could I have, maybe try to run him over, just, be more physical and just get in the end zone or made a move at the line and just kind of gotten the paint that way? Yes, probably. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm getting in this end zone because I don't know the next time I'm gonna get an opportunity to score. So when I got to the line, he's coming, uh, at an angle. I mean, I jumped, like I dove, and I stuck the ball out. Now I crossed the plane. Don't get me wrong, I crossed the plane, but he knocked the ball out of my hands. And I just knew as soon as I got up, like I knew I scored. I knew obviously they went and reviewed it and it was kind of drug out for no reason. But I just remember looking at the sidelines. I swear I could just feel the intensity and the beam of Saban's eyes looking at me. And I'm just like, oh shit, I know where this is going to go. So I, eventually walked over to the sidelines and, of course, first person to approach me is Coach Saban. He's like, Slade, what are we doing sticking the ball out? And I'm just sitting there like, oh, I know I scored, but I know we're not supposed to do that because at the end of the day, he would get on us because let's just say you don't cross a plane and then you get the ball stuck out and it rolls in the end zone, they recover it. One, that's a touchback, or let's just say they get the ball and they're down on one right there. You don't score, they get the ball and the drive's over. So yeah, that's very important. But I'm like, man, I just scored. Like, why does everybody get on my ass? And it was funny because I could just feel his presence. Like like when guys do interviews and they're like going to say something they shouldn't, and then like boom, coaches speeches or how he talks about handling PR or anything, like it hits you like real quick, like I mean, you say something that you redirect what you're about to say. I remember when I got up out of the end zone, I could just feel like the presence of coach being like, yeah, I'm about to get my ass chewed out. And I did, essentially. I mean, he got on me for a second, and then after that, I was like, no one else talked to me. Like I heard enough. I scored. It's over with. Like let's just move on. Like I know I messed up. It is what it is. But it's funny because it hits you as soon as like I forgot even I scored when I crossed the plane. I just was thinking, yeah, Saban's about to chew my ass out. And I could just, as I'm walking towards the sideline, I mean, I can just see him just like looking at me, like, look, and I'm just like, here we go. And then sure enough, as soon as I got to the sideline, we don't stick the ball outside. What are you doing? And I'm just like, yes, sir. I know. Yes, sir. And, but, it's fine. I'm sure I got talked about in meetings Monday about it too. Like, what we do is showboating, putting the ball out. But he's right. I mean, it's not the delivery of the message, it's the message that he's saying. So you always kind of have to kind of tune out the way he's delivering a message to you and just listen to what he's actually saying. But he didn't have to deliver that one. I knew exactly what the issue was going to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That
but that
that
that was fun times.
that Mercer game was memorable for me too, because my uncle was actually the co-offensive coordinator for Mercer that year. So it was
Oh
pretty
wow.
weird to be across the field from, your uncle or whatever. But
That's
playing
cool.
off of what you said, I think that, one thing that separated Saban from every other coach is that right there. You're playing a school that everybody expects you to beat, or you're up a lot toward the end of the game, but he's still going to be on you to do things the
Yeah.
right way. Don't, slack off. None of that.
Yeah, it's the accountability. It's uh no matter what situation, what team or how the game's going, like you always got to be accountable. And he always was accountable to his coaches, his players, making sure that one mishap or one mistake or something that you shouldn't be doing, and just making sure you're still doing things the right way, regardless of what the environment of the game's like and the scenario and situation. And that's because you're going to get in situations and times where things aren't easy and things aren't going your way. And it's how do you respond? And him holding us accountable in whatever situation made us have less mistakes and learning from the mistakes that we did have and not doing them again. And that's the biggest thing in the NFL is like the way you make teams and the way you stay on the field is you don't make the same mistake twice. So that's another thing that he prepared us is, holding us accountable for things that either we knew we shouldn't do or we did on, unintentionally, that holding that accountability and, discipline as well is what I think separated him because no matter what the situation and circumstance was, we still treated every snap, every drive, every game the same. And that's what allowed us to have so much success in the future.
Well, man, take me through your recruiting process because you were a pretty, touted recruit coming out of down there in West Monroe, Duck Commander country, and
Mm-hmm.
actually played baseball and quarterback. So how did you end up?
Yeah.
How did LSU let you go to Alabama and be a receiver? How did all that happen?
Well, I don't know if they necessarily let me. I think they just didn't do a good job of keeping me. So I tell people this all the time. If LSU baseball would have offered me going into my junior year, because I always thought I was gonna play baseball. Being the stature I was, 5'10", 5'11" white guy, like kind of figured I was just gonna be a baseball guy. And I was really good at baseball, not trying to brag, just I was, and if I thought if LSU baseball would have offered me going to my junior year because I was playing travel ball for one of our better Louisiana travel ball teams, and we're Marucci Black. I probably would have committed them because with baseball, it's like you get an offer and you like it, you kind of have to commit then because they at that time they didn't give that many scholarships away. But unfortunately, they didn't offer me. And uh, went after my junior year of football season, that's when because I had like five probably after my sophomore year of football scholarships, and then after my junior year is when it kind of took off. And eventually, I got the LSU offer, and then of course baseball then comes around. Like, hey, you want to come play baseball too? And now that we can get you for free. But that happened with a lot of other schools too, like Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Bama, TCU. TCU, I was very, very close to coming to TCU and playing both. I was going to early enroll and play baseball that semester, but I've heard from other people that played for Coach Patterson, who was the head coach at the time, said that yeah, that wasn't going to fly. Like he's kind of like Saban, like, hey, you came here on football scholarship, you're playing football. But I'll tell you this, like I like Coach O a lot, and there were some other guys that were recruiting me pretty heavy, and Coach O did a great job. And I'm telling you, it wouldn't have been that hard for them to get me. And the only thing I ever asked from any school or just wanted to have from any school was, how am I going to fit in your offense? Because I was recruited as an athlete, right? I played a lot of quarterback in high school, but I'd bounce around the running back, I'd bounce around the receiver. I was just a football player at the end of the day. And excuse me, I always asked, like, I always wanted just teams to show me how I'd fit in their offense and how I'd work. And I didn't need to be, show me all this love or, recruit me hard, like talk to me all the time. Like, just want to know how I fit in your program. And man, the offensive coordinator at the time was Matt Canada, and he didn't, when you meet somebody, you shake their hand, you know that they don't know you or don't want to know you or don't recognize you. So the first time I met him, it was clear that he did not know me or chose not to know me. And I never got a text, call, DM, or anything from him. So I just felt like not only that I wasn't wanted in that aspect, but also like I didn't know where I fit. I didn't know what position they wanted me to play. And then when I got a call from, Coach and Brian Dable from Bama, it was just complete opposite. I mean, the way they treated me on my recruiting visit, the way they kind of took care of me in ways that I was, I felt like I was like a 5-star recruit going on that recruit. And I was only a 3-star, really. And, Brian Dable sat me down, showed me how I was going to fit in the offense, what kind of routes I was going to run, playing the slot, different things of that nature. So it was just completely opposite. And I felt right at home. And yeah, it was weird. I mean, I grew up a Tiger fan my whole life and, wanted to be an LSU Tiger, whether it was baseball or football. And I promise you, it wasn't going to be hard for them to get me, but not knowing where I'd fit in that offense, I felt that was a very reasonable thing to not go to that school. And being the Gatorade Player of the Year that year in Louisiana, I mean, you would think they would have tried a little harder, maybe. I don't know, because they always talk about keeping guys at home, and maybe they didn't want me, and it was just something that because I was Gatorade Player of the Year, because I was from Louisiana, they felt like they were obligated to offer me. So I don't know. I mean, I've talked to some people, later on in life that about it, and I think it just had to do with the OC at the time. But trust me, things happen for a reason, and I'm very thankful I decided to go to University of Alabama, and that changed my life forever. So
Well, I had your former Bama teammate Byron Young on the podcast not too long ago, and he told a funny
yeah,
story about meeting Coach DeBoer. I guess he had went and watched a practice, and Coach DeBoer was looking at him, kind of wondering why he wasn't doing the fourth quarter stuff, and he had to explain to him that he wasn't a player and everything.
yeah.
But what's your opinion on Coach DeBoer, and how do you think what does Bama need to do to make sure they get in the playoff this year?
Well, here's the thing, I tell people this, our fans, I love them to death. They're the best fans in the world, but they expect perfection. They expect an undefeated season, which so did we. That was our goal: go undefeated, win national championship every year. That's how we looked at it. So I get it, but man, you got to think it's a whole new change, a whole new coach, whole new staff. Like most programs don't do near as well when that happens, especially following a tenure like Coach Saban, which is the greatest tenure of a college coach of all time. So I've obviously met DeBoer. I think he's a great guy. I mean, there's nothing personally that I have against, or I thought it was great. And I met a lot of other people on the staff that I thought were awesome. And my thing is, like, I've heard, because I've recently gone on a podcast with Frank Delaney, who or Delano, sorry, who's runs Bring the Juice. So he went to Fresno State, and DeBoer coached him at Fresno State. And they have their differences with him, but at the end of the day, he was like, he's a winner. He's a great football mind, and I heard winner. That's all that matters, because that's all that matters in Alabama. It's all that matters in that program and our fan base. But my thing is too is with the NIL, the transfer portal, the playing fields are damn near level, like to an extent, right? But we don't have the 4-star, 5-star future top draft picks, you know, second, third on the depth chart. Those guys are now in the portal at Vanderbilt, South Carolina. The different schools that we've had some trouble with. We don't have the depth that we used to have. And then also, we're not getting every guy that we used to get because of the NIL. Like, you can get a guy that, may benefit better coming to Alabama, but you offering some more money at another school, I don't blame that kid. I mean, especially if he comes from nothing, like going. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But I mean, you see now, like the Ole Miss upsetting Georgia, A&M getting upset, like all these different things are coming into play. You're starting to realize, okay, this is not how it used to be. It wouldn't, Georgia, Bama, LSU running the table. It's very competitive. It's tough. It's tough to win now, and I think that has a lot to do with NIL and the transfer portal. I mean, it's great for college football as a fan now, but it's as a player, that'd be tough because we always just dedicated ourselves to the process and the program and just, being patient and doing what you had to do to get your opportunity and just investing in what coach set as the standard. And it's so hard. Like, I'd hate to be a head coach or a coach in general in this era because it's so hard to get guys to buy into a thing. Now it's just, hey, how much are you going to pay me? So I think based off all the different scenarios that are going on with college football, I think DeBoer's done a great job. And obviously, we got a big win in Death Valley against a really good LSU team. I mean, to be able to do that, and hey, like even when I was playing, and I actually said this on my boy Frank's pod as well. It's like when I was playing, we lost two games in 2019. We lost in 2021. We lost. We didn't lose in 2020, but we lost in Natty in 2018. And it seemed like every time we lose, or we even beat an SEC team barely, have a tough battle with an unranked SEC team. It was always kind of from the fan base perspective, like, oh, we're not the same Alabama. The standard's not what it used to be. And then I remember at times like they'd even be calling for coach to retire, and it's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, you serious? Because we would like first off, what we do every day, the way we attack preparation and where we attack practice, we had our mindset set on we're going to be national champions at the end of the year. Like the standard was always the same. To me, it's just kind of wild to see that. So not only did I have to go through that when coach was there, like Coach Saban being the head coach, and there were still people saying that he needs to retire. That's not the same Alabama of old. And I mentioned a story like in 2019, we lost two games, and they were like, "Hey, like Saban should retire, or we should move on." And then next year we go undefeated SEC schedule during COVID and win a national championship. So it's you got to take everything with a grain of salt. And I even found myself becoming a fan because I mean I was a little pissed off when we got beat by Vandy. But you look at Vandy, like they're a real team. They're not 20 years of what Vandy's been. They're a real team. So I think they're a few possessions away from beating Texas 2 weeks ago, and didn't they win this weekend? I'm pretty sure.
I want to say they did, or if they lost, they barely lost.
Yeah, and I don't keep up with Vandy obviously, but uh, they're a good team. They're talented, and the way they run their offense is very difficult to stop. So it's sometimes I get it, but to me, it's like, man, we just got a whole new staff, a whole new coach. We're still trying to figure out things, and for us to be where we are right now, yeah, we had some bad losses. I was more upset with we played like 16 bad quarters in a row. I don't care about the loss because, well, naturally, if you play bad quarters or you don't play, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, when the offense is playing well, the defense plays well. Because a lot of times the offense would show up, and the defense would show up, and the defense started showing up, and the offense wasn't showing up. Um, I think that was kind of our biggest issue at first, but I thought we played the most complete game this past Saturday. And yeah, like everybody say, oh, Jalen ran the ball a lot, but I mean, that's called preparation. LSU struggled against, heavy quarterback run teams. Why wouldn't we do that? And then he made some really great down the field throws. I mean, one play almost would have been probably the best pitch and catch this year, but it's raining also. So it's you don't want to throw the ball when it's raining. It's hard, especially being a quarterback and a receiver. So more of the story is like I think we're fine. Being able to do what the board's done this year, I think is very impressive. Dealing with the circumstances of people transferring, people, going to different schools and with the NIL and not probably getting every recruit you need. And I mean, I think we're fine. I think what we got to do is continue to execute on offense. Continue to play great defense. Being able to get those big turnovers like we did last Saturday, and we've gotten even against Tennessee, we got three turnovers, and that was we didn't play as well on offense, so that kind of hurt us that game. And uh, I think doing that, you know, being able to execute on offense, uh, keep drives going. Because what I told some guys before the LSU game, because some of my buddies asked me, like, "Hey, what do you think? What do you think about this game?" I was like, "Look, you go in a hostile environment. As long as you control the football, you manage the clock well, you don't have any penalties. You take not only the air out of the team you're playing, but you take the air out of the fans. You take the air out of fans like a place at Death Valley. You're going to continue to have that momentum and continue to have drives, and that's exactly what we did. I mean, we're you know checking down, keeping drives alive. We didn't have any penalties. I don't even know if we had one. We may have. I don't remember, but I felt like we controlled the clock well. We had long drives, sustaining drives. We were able to finish our drives, and that took the wind out of LSU, and it also took the wind out of the fans. And then, you saw it by the time we got to the third quarter. I mean, people were leaving. So I think as long as we continue to do that and play well and show up as a unit offensively and defensively and play well when each other's playing well. And I can't believe I can't think of the analogy or the phrase I'm trying to use. But I think that's how we win, and we continue to do that. And it's not gonna be easy, but I think we have a great shot.
So when you got to Alabama, Jalen Hurts was there. Tua came after, then it was Mac, then it was Bryce. You got to play with four NFL quarterbacks. I know it's kind of a broad question, but what is something that kind of separated each of them?
Yeah, I've gotten asked this a lot. It's tough to kind of say who was better, who was worse, or whatever. I mean, I didn't play with Jalen a lot necessarily because his in 2018, it was Tua and he was just there, and obviously in the 2018 SEC championship game came back and helped us win that. Obviously, that was unbelievable. But uh, so I didn't really have a relationship on the field with Jalen. Obviously, outside relationship we did, or outside the field we did. But and I wasn't playing that much when Tua was there, or Tua was mainly starting. So really it's between Mac and Bryce, to be honest, when it comes to on the field, and because I could compare all three of them in a way just from watching, especially with Tua and Jalen. Uh, but when it comes to like me on the field with these guys, me and Mac, we're best friends. We had such a great relationship, and we spent so much time with each other. Even when we were both on, scout team, we kind of knew what we were thinking, and that's what I always tell guys who, maybe we ask for advice when it comes to playing receivers. Like, you want to be on the same like telepathic wavelength that your quarterback's on. I always wanted to, because I treated studying the game and preparing for a game like a quarterback. So I always thought like a quarterback initially. So when, if whatever the defense was, the coverage they were running or the scheme they were running, and depending on what play you were running, I always thought about it as how would a quarterback think. But also, I built such a strong relationship, you know, just constantly running routes with Mac, and we were obviously hung out all the time, so we knew each other like the back of our hands. So that when it comes to playing with Mac, I think we were definitely a better pair. I think I understand him more, but they're all different. Bryce was so like, I mean, him and Mac are so just like intelligent and just was able to break down defenses and would see things that not many people saw. And looking back, like I wish I'd have kind of built that same relationship like with Bryce that was able to build with Mac, but I was able to build that with Mac for 3 years. Like that wouldn't, or yeah, 3 years. That didn't just happen like overnight. Because once Mac left, it was just I had Bryce for a year. So it's kind of hard to build as strong as we did. Doesn't mean we didn't have a great relationship at all, but they were just so good, both of them, intellectually, just being able to break down defenses and seeing things that not people saw. I mean, especially like when I would watch film with Bryce, I mean, he was just like, yeah, they're about to do this, this, and that. And I'm just like, how'd you see that? You know what I mean? And that's obviously that's what separates guys like that. But I always thought Bryce was one of the most just all overall talented guys I played with when it comes to just making plays with his feet, being able to make things happen when it looked like nothing was going to work. And obviously, all of them threw a great ball. All of them were accurate. But Bryce was sneaky. Man, he was like he was like a point guard out there playing quarterback. And I thought honestly like he was the most overall talented. I always thought Mac threw the best touch. Had the most accurate catchable ball. But that also probably had to do with our connection. Being able to know kind of exactly where I was going to be at the right time, and that has a lot to do with it. But I mean, man, I mean, Mac was a Heisman candidate, Tua was a Heisman candidate, Jason was a Heisman candidate, and Bryce the only one that won. And I thought maybe if Mac would have had Jalen Waddle and Smitty and Mechie, he probably would have won that year. But if Jalen doesn't go hurt, then I don't get to play. So it's like it's funny how it all works out. So it's kind of hard to compare all these guys. I mean, they were so good, and in their own ways, and and I love each and every one of them. So I'm obviously not picking favorites, but it's obviously easy to me to say Mac because we just had such a stronger connection, but it was built up. It wasn't just, oh, now we have a good connection. It started from being on the scout team together and being roommates and constantly getting on the field in the summer on Sundays at the rec fields during COVID of 2020. So that those constant reps it takes time. You can't. It's hard to develop that with a year like I was able to do with Bryce. But me and Bryce were able to build a great connection, and obviously it worked because I mean we went to the Natty and should have won that. But it's tough to kind of say which one's better because they're all really great in their own ways. But for me, I guess it would be Mac because I just had that connection and that relationship that was built over years. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. A lot of people, wish they could catch a college football, a touchdown pass in a college football game, and you caught your first one in the national championship versus Ohio State in 2020. Walk me through what that moment was like for you.
I mean, it was obviously a very special moment, but I'll take you back. Like my first collegiate touchdown was actually a pass. So it was against Tennessee in 2019. It was, I did a lot of Wildcat that year, and we basically had a low red zone play where, Tebow-ish, fake a sweep, act like I was about to dive and pull up, and I was able to, and that was really cool. Obviously, being a receiver and former quarterback, being able to have my first collegiate touchdown be a pass, that was almost just as cool as scoring the natty. But I mean, when I scored, like we were probably going to win that game either way. I think obviously my touchdown definitely made it a sure fact, like definitely put the nail in the coffin. But yeah, it wasn't anything sexy. It was just a swing route and was able to get in. But you know, being a guy that was told, "Hey, you're never going to play at Alabama. You're never going to start. Why are you going there?" Being a guy that was told that, and not that I care, never really care what people thought. I always was worried about proving myself right, not proving people wrong. But being able to score in the biggest stage, being my first receiving touchdown and, fortunately helping us be able to seal a victory and be a national champion and be able to accomplish all the things that I wanted to accomplish. And I knew that I was going to accomplish eventually. And, all the nights and the days and times where I was grinding and no one was there to see me. And it was times where no one else was working. I think that's what made it so special. And obviously, just seeing the boys and everybody, all my teammates, just as fired up to see me score that as much as I was fired up. I mean, I think that's what was special about that moment is just seeing everything come to fruition and being able to experience that with my teammates and my coaches and my family when they were at the game too. I think that's what made that all too special. Was not even just me scoring; it was being able to see people react the way that they did to me doing that and being able to help us win that national championship game. So that was a very special moment, and I'll forever be thankful. But it's not about the stats, it's not about the scores, it's about the people that helped you get there and that you know worked with and grinded with day in day out to get to that accomplishment. That's what makes it special.
That's cool, man. I completely forgot about that in 2019. I'm sure there's probably not a lot of Alabama receivers that scored passing, receiving. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a Russian one in there too, man. That's awesome.
I
Um,
wish there was a Russian one. I hope.
there's
I mean,
not
I was hoping for one. No,
jet sweep or something.
no, I never got the sweeps. I got when I was, doing the Wildcat deal. I swear against Auburn, I got the first down, but man, it opened up, and I was like, oh, and then I don't know if somebody missed their block or whatever, but that thing closed quickly. But it was like I had to run for about 35 yards, 40 yards, but there was a play where like, okay, this is my chance to get in that end zone running the ball, but it closed very quickly. And
Does that does that
that's the
sting
speed of the game too.
does that sting a little bit more because of it being Auburn of all teams?
Well, I mean, it would have been nice. I mean, because we ended up losing that game, unfortunately, in 2019. But yeah, that would have been really nice to be able to score because that would have been two Iron Bowl scores at Auburn. Hmm. Hanging that one a little more,
Oh yeah.
love, however you say.
Well, playing off of the Iron Bowl, I wanted to ask you. I wanted to save this question for last, end with a bang.
Mhm.
You were a part of national championship teams at Alabama, SEC championship games, played in SEC championship games. Does any of those games compare to LSU in 2019 or the Iron Bowl in 21 that went into four overtimes? What is there any other game that sticks out in your mind besides those two?
I mean, obviously most memorable is 2020 national championship. I scored in it, like we won a natty. Obviously, stakes are the highest, biggest accomplishment, right? When it comes to the atmosphere, 2019 LSU at home was definitely one of the greatest. I mean, Trump was there. I mean, it was just, one versus two. I believe, was it one versus two or two versus three?
I
I think
believe
it
it
was
was
one
one
versus
versus two.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were two, we were one. And, obviously I can go in and on that about why we should have won. And, people got their opinions on that. But I think from like an environment standpoint, that was the biggest. But me personally, as a player, I thought Iron Bowl 2021 because we were undefeated. Like we had to win that game because who knows? We don't want to leave it up to committee if we lose that game at Auburn in 2021. And also like me scoring the first overtime touchdown, like I wish that would have been the one to win it. But unfortunately they came back and scored again and we had to score twice and Mechie ended up sealing that for us. But uh I think that one as a player and just, obviously I was a player in 2019, but just like I was a starter, I was playing and just like I actually helped, keep that game alive. I think that was the biggest, one of the more memorable, biggest games other than the 2020 national championship that, uh, just like the environment and just like, I mean, Auburn's rocking. And when you play there, it's tough. I don't care what their record is or what kind of Auburn team, it's always going to be a tough battle. And luckily we play them at home this year. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, that doesn't have an effect. But I mean, that was an awesome moment, and I think I was definitely more fired up winning that one. Maybe more fired up than I was in 2020 because I was like I had people just saying stuff on Twitter about me. I mean, being the guy I am, you look at me on the screen, right? You make one mistake and people are coming from your head for your head, and it is what it is. Like I said, I don't care. Like it's part of it, but that was kind of for me a statement game. Like, hey, like I'm like that. I'm here. Like I'm not just playing for no reason. Like obviously, like I've worked and I'm grinding for this opportunity. Like I am a good player. Like don't get it twisted. So that for me was like more of a statement. Like yeah, like what y'all gonna say now? I just helped us win this game to put us into the playoffs. So that was big for me personally. And kind of shut everybody up. So and I like doing that.
hell yeah. So Slade, man, I really appreciate it. It was great catching up with you again. I'm believing you're going to be back in a pair of shoulder pads here soon. So
I would
be,
like to. I like to as well. I appreciate it. Thank you.
yes, sir.
Thanks for having me, Skylar.
Of course.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Roll Tide, brother.